The fall of the Serbian Empire was a decades-long period in the late 14th century that marked the end of the once powerful Serbian Empire. Following the death of childless Emperor Uroš the Weak in 1371, the empire was left without an heir, and the magnates velikaši obtained the rule of its provinces and districts, continuing their offices as independent, with titles such as gospodin and despot given to them during the empire. This period is known as the dissolution of the beginning of the fall of the Serbian Empire. Between 1366 and 1371, King Vukašin was the co-ruler of Emperor Uroš, ruling the southern half. Thus the empire may be viewed as a de facto diarchy. Before 1371, the nobility were either directly subordinate to Emperor Uroš or to Vukašin. The Vukašin died in the Battle of Maritsa against the invading Ottoman Empire, and southern Serbian provinces became nominal Ottoman vassals. 4 months later, Uroš died. The lords could not agree on the rightful ruler. They dismissed Prince Marko, the son of Vukašin, and within a year conflicts started between the nobles. An assembly was held in 1374. Without any success, the nobles couldn't agree on whether Marko or Prince Lazar would head the Serbian Confederation as the Serbian king, and the state continued as before, fragmented and without central authority. The period after the death of Uroš and Vukašin was marked with the rise and fall of Prince Lazar, and the power struggle of the minor provinces. Lazar ruled the most powerful Serbian principality, Moravian Serbia. The rule of Lazar ended with his death in the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, when Serbia stood up against invading Ottomans, an event that is deeply rooted in Serbdom. After the battle, and by 1395, most of the southern provinces were conquered and annexed by the Ottomans, while the provinces of modern central Serbia accepted nominal Ottoman rule. Lazar was succeeded by his son, Stefan Lazarevich, who ruled the leftover state called Serbian Despotate, which finally fell to the Ottomans in 1459, thus marking the end of the medieval Serbian state. Background: Uroš the Weak's rule. Emperor Dušan's son and heir Stefan Uroš V, though by this time 20 years old, was weak, and unable to take forceful action against his nobler separatist tendencies, hence his sobriquet, the Weak, as opposed to his father Dušan's, the Mighty. Dušan's half-brother Simeon Uroš was expelled from Epirus and sought to obtain Serbia. He marched on Serbia in 1357 after he had himself proclaimed Tsar of the Greeks, Serbs, and Albanians at Kastoria in 1356. The forces of Stefan Uroš met the forces of Simeon near Scutari in Zeta and forced them to back down. Meanwhile, in the Serbian, Bulgarian and Byzantine borderlands of western Thrace, Matthew Cantacuzene Uzinos, the son of the Byzantine Emperor John VI Cantacuzene Uzinos, made war on the Serbs in 1356–57 but failed to capture Sarres with his 5,000 Turks, and was soon defeated in battle by Vojvoda Volin and held for ransom. The ransom was paid by the Emperor John V Palaiologos, and Matthew was allowed to retire to Moria. Now the lands that remained loyal to Uroš were most of Macedonia, including the land between the Struma and Mesta rivers and the Chalcidice Peninsula. The lands that remained Serbian could be divided into 3 main parts: the western territories, including Zeta, the central Serbian lands of Uroš, and the southern lands. One of the strongest western nobles was Vojislav Voljanović, and he quarreled with the Republic of Ragusa in the fall of 1358, when the Serbs and the Hungarians clashed along the Danube. The Hungarians penetrated deep into Serbian territory and the Serbian army retreated to avoid battle with the attackers. Vojislav waited until the Hungarians withdrew in 1359, then he attacked Ragusa. In 1363 the Hungarians and Wallachians were joined by Bosnian and Serbian forces committed to expel the Ottoman Turks from Europe. Caught by surprise near Adrianople, these forces were defeated by the Turks in 1364 on the banks of the Maritsa River. In 1365 Vukašin was proclaimed King of Serbia and co-ruler with Uroš, and Jovan Uglješa was made despot in the Serbian Principality of Seres. History. Battle of Maritsa was a far more serious problem for Serbia and the whole Balkans than the internal squabbling of the Serbian nobles, and that was the advance of the Ottoman Turks in Europe, followed by the penetration into Thrace. In 1354 they acquired Gallipoli on the European side of the Dardanelles. For there, they expanded into Thrace, taking Demotica from the Byzantines in 1361 and Philippopolis from the Bulgarians in 1363, and finally in 1369 the major city of Adrianople. By 1370 Turks had occupied most of Thrace to the Rhodopes and to the Balkan Mountains. As they reached the Rhodopes, they collided with Jovan Uglješa, who had extended his realm beyond the Mosta into this territory, and the threat from them became increasingly serious. On September 26, 1371, King Vukašin with his brother despot Jovan Uglješa led the Serb army against the advancing Ottoman Empire led by the Beyliğ of Rumeli Lala Sahin Pasha at the Battle of Maritsa. The offensive against the Turks was originally scheduled for early 1371, but was delayed, perhaps because Uglješa had hoped that Bulgaria might also join the coalition. King Vukašin and his son Marko were in Scutari preparing for action against Nicholas Altomanovich when they were summoned east to join up with Uglješa and his army, and then together they easily penetrated into what was supposedly Turkish territory and reached Cernomen on the Maritsa River, where the Serbs did not bother to post sentries or have scouts as did the Turks. Furthermore, they did not keep the horses or the weapons in readiness, and they allowed themselves to be surprised. The Ottomans won the battle as they attacked the Serbian army while they rested. The bodies of the commanders were not found. Prince Marko inherited the royal title of his father and became the co-ruler of Emperor Uroš. Death of the Emperor. Stefan Uroš V died childless in December 2 quarters 1371, after much of the Serbian nobility had been destroyed by the Turks in the Battle of Maritsa earlier that year. The Vukašin's son Marko inherited his father's royal title, and thus became the disputed successor of the Serbian throne. The nobles pursued their own interests, quarreling with each other. Real power in northern Serbia was held by Prince Lazar. The latter did not assume the imperial or royal titles, and in 1377 accepted King Tvrtko I of Bosnia as titular king of Serbia. Serbia proper became a vassal of the Ottomans in 1390 but remained effectively ruled by the Lazarevics and then by the Brankovic successors until the fall of Smederevo in 1459. Turad II Bolsek Edict in 1372. Turad had succeeded his father Strasimir as the Lord of Opposita. Turad, in the standards of collective family reign, issued together with his uncles Bolsa II and presiding Turad died edict in the Republic of Ragusa on 30 November 1373. The edict confirmed the laws of Emperor Stefan Uroš from the Serbian Nemanjic and gave privileges to Ragusian traders, including imposed taxes to the Adriatic city. It also included a unique clause, recognizing the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Serbian Empire, even though for years without an emperor and any form of centralized, strong authority. A note that if anyone became the new sovereign emperor of the Serbs and the Serbian nobility and lands, all the points shall be transferred from the Balsics to him. Turadai's Logotet Vitko was the witness, as well as Dragus Kosasic. The collectivity of the family of the Balsics marked this unique feudal system applied to the domain. Plots against Marko. When his father died, young King Marko legally became king and the co-ruler of Tsar Uroš. Soon afterwards came the end of the Nemanjic dynasty, when Uroš died on 4 December 1371, which formally made Marko the sovereign of the Serbian state. Serbian lords, however, did not even consider to recognize him as the supreme ruler, and the separatism within the state increased even more. After the demise of the two brothers and the destruction of their armies, the House of Mrnjavčević was left without any real power. Lords surrounding Marko took the opportunity and seized significant parts of his patrimony. By 1372, Turadai Balsic grabbed Prizrenopek, and Prince Lazar Rebuljanović took Pristina. By 1377 Vuk Branković acquired Skopje, and Albanian magnate Andrea Gropa became practically independent in Ohrid. The latter possibly remained a vassal to Marko as he had been to Vukašin. Gropa's son-in-law was Makar's relative Ostoja Rajaković of the clan of Ugarsic from Travunia. He was one of the Serbian nobles from Zaclumia and Travunia who had received lands in the newly conquered parts of Macedonia during Tsar Dušan's reign. After the Battle of Maritsa, Marko, the son of Vukašin Mrnjavčević, was crowned king and gained his father's lands. However, his friendship with the Balsics soon crumbled. This was a result of Turad, in 1371, expelling his first wife Olivera, Makar's sister, and took Prizren from Marko. Lazar Rebuljanović, Prince of Moravia and Serbia, conquered Pristina in the same year. Turad took Pek a year later, stripping most of Makar's lands north of Sar Mountain. Plot against Nikola. In the spring of 1371, Marko participated in the preparations for a campaign against Nikola Altomanović, the major lord in the west of the empire. The campaign was planned jointly by King Vukašin and Turadai Balsic, the lord of Zeta, who was married to Olivera, the king's daughter. In July that year, Vukašin and Marko camped with their army outside Skutari, on Balsic's territory, ready to make an incursion towards Onagist in Altomanovic's land. The attack never happened, as the Ottomans threatened the land of despot Jorvand Ugliasa, the lord of Sarres, Vukašin's younger brother who ruled in eastern Macedonia. The forces of the Mrnjavčevics were quickly directed eastward. Having in vain looked for allies, the two brothers finally entered with their own troops into the territory controlled by the Ottomans. At the Battle of Maritsa on 26 September 1371, the Turks annihilated the Serbian army. Not even the bodies of Vukašin and Jorvand Ugliasa were ever found. The place where it was fought is near the village of Ormenio in the east of present-day Greece, has ever since been called Sirp Sintage, Serbian rout, in Turkish. The outcome of this battle had serious consequences. It actually opened up the Balkans to the Turks. In 1371, Turad announced to Ragusan Republic that Vukašin Mrnjavčević and his son, Marko, along with their armies, were in Skutari with Turad. preparing an attack on Altomanovic. Dubrovnik assisted the campaign by providing ships to transport men and supplies, since the campaign was in Dubrovnik's interests. However, the campaign never took place as Vukašin and Marko went to aid Vukašin's brother, Jorvand Uglješa, in a campaign against the Turks, which ended up in total disaster, Uglješa being killed in the Battle of Maritsa. Altomanovic, though, was now in even more trouble. Prince Lazar Rebljanović of Serbia and Ban.Tvrtko of Bosnia allied themselves to defeat Nikola Altomanovic. Desperate for a strong ally, Altomanovic began negotiations with Turad. Most historians agree that in concluding negotiations, Turad gained the towns of Trebinje, Konavle and Račovica from Altomanovic, possibly a bribe to remain neutral within the war. Other historians, however, follow Moro Orbini's account and argue that Turad never concluded such an agreement, rather conquered the towns he gained from the agreement himself after Altomanovic was defeated in 1373. The assembly took place on September 26, 1374, symbolically 3 years since the battle at Maritsa. The assembly was held to stop the discord between Serbian nobles. Marko and Lazar both claimed the titles of king, with Vuk Branković supporting Lazar. Crowning of Tvrtko. On 26 October 1377, Tvrtko had himself crowned as Stephen Tvrtko by the grace of God, King of the Serbs, Bosnia and the seaside and the western lands. Today, some historians consider that he was crowned in the monastery of Mileseva, even though there is no evidence of that. Another possibility, supported by archaeological evidences, is that he was crowned in Mile near Visoko in the church which was built in time of Stephen II Kotromanic's reign, where he was also buried alongside his uncle Stepan II. Stephen was the standard title of the rulers of the Nemanjić dynasty. In 1375 to 1377, Tvrtko created a unique genealogy that explicitly stated his descent from the Nemanjići. Death of Balsic. Turad died on 13 January 1378 in Scutari. However, recent studies now conclude that Turad died in 1379 rather than in 1378. The rule of Zeta was passed down to his younger brother, Balsa II. Turad's death caused quite a stir between Zeta's neighbors. Bosnian Ban.Tvrtko annexed Turad's territories bordering Dubrovnik in 1377, along with the remainder of Turad's coastal lands between the Bay of Kota and the land previously annexed in 1377 at the time of his death. Tvrtko secured these possessions through Turad's death, free of worry of any counterattack. Vuk Branković also took this opportunity to gain Turad's land. Branković sent his forces into Metajar and seized Prizren, along with the rest of Turad's holdings in the region. Rise of Lazar. By 1379, Prince Lazar Rebljanović, the Lord of Pomoravlja, emerged as most powerful among the Serbian nobles. In his signatures, he titled himself as the autocrator of all the Serbs. Nevertheless, he was not powerful enough to unite all Serbian lands under his authority. The families of Balsic and Mrnjavčević, Konstantin Dragius, Vuk Branković, and Radoslav Lapan, ruled in the respective domains without consulting with Lazar. Another king besides Marko advanced on the political scene. In 1377, the Metropolitan of Mileseva crowned Tvrtko, maternally related to the Nemanjići, king of the Serbs and of Bosnia. He had previously taken some western parts of the former Serbian Empire. After taking Nikola Altomanovic's lands in 1379, he subordinated Radić Sanković. Battle of Kosovo. On 28 June 1389, Serbian forces led by Prince Lazar Vuk Branković and TVRTKO's nobleman Vlatko Vuković of Zaklumir, confronted the Ottoman army led by Sultan Murad I and his two sons Bayezid and Yakub. This was the Battle of Kosovo, the most famous battle in Serbia's medieval history. The majority of the Serbian army was obliterated in battle. Vuk Branković, who led the Serbian right wing, routed the left wing of the Ottomans, being led by another son of Murad, Yakub, after the Serbian heavy cavalry smashed into the Ottoman left and damaged the Ottoman center, pushing them back and gaining the first advantage. Bayezid, the other son of Murad, commanded the Ottoman right, which was made up of 4 Turkish, 2 Serbian and 1 Bulgarian division, and he held off the forces of Vlatko Vuković commanding the Serbian Bosnian army on the left of the main body of Serbians under Prince Lazar. Bayezid, with his reserves fresh and ready for battle, counterattacked the Serbs under Lazar, who had been pushing hard against the Ottoman centre, and broke through all the way to where the wounded Prince Lazar was being sheltered, and captured the Serbian prince, bringing him and other Serbian nobles before the dying body of Murad, who had been stabbed and mortally wounded by the Serb Miloš Bilić, who pretended to be a deserter, and while he died, Lazar was beheaded along with the flower of the Serbian aristocracy. The Serbs that remained alive retreated, and then the Ottomans also withdrew after they lost so many of the soldiers that they could not continue their campaign. But equally important was the fact that Bayezid, who was to succeed his father Murad and had conveniently had Yakub strangled, had to retreat to Adrianople in order to be proclaimed the new Ottoman Sultan. The battle was clearly a loss for the Serbian prince and his vassals, and in the wake of it the Serbs were left with too few men to effectively defend the lands, while the Turks had many more troops in the east. Consequently, the Serbian principalities that were not already Ottoman vassals, one after the other, became so in the following years. The majority of the Serbian army was obliterated in battle, but both Lazar and Murad lost their lives in it, and the remnants of their armies eventually retreated from the battlefield. Furthermore, in response to Turkish pressure, some Serbian noblemen wed their daughters, including the daughter of Prince Lazar, to Bayezid. In the wake of these marriages, Stefan Lazarevich became a loyal ally of Bayezid, going on to contribute significant forces to many of Bayezid's future military engagements, including the Battle of Nicopolis. Eventually, the Serbian despotate would, on numerous occasions, attempt to defeat the Ottomans in conjunction with the Hungarians, until its final defeat in 1459 and again in 1540. Administration. Legacy. Serbian epic poems speak of the fall of the Serbian Empire.